Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Founder Shift podcast. This is going to be a fun one. I have with me Maryana Sky. She and I met through a community called Wealth Walks, which is like if it's like wealth and walks, but like take out all the vowels. If you want to Google it, it is really cool. We got randomly matched up, and we ended up. It was us and another coach, and we ended up talking for like 2 hours about life and spirituality and business and like fears, and it was just a soul connection. So I'm so excited to have her on the podcast. Maryana scaled up and sold 3 laser hair removal practices. And now she has a practice in the Bronx that she'll tell you about. And she also helps other estheticians do the same thing. So she knows the beauty market and she is ready to help everyone build business ecosystems, especially for technicians who may not have ever done that before. So her business is really interesting. And tell us a little bit more than what I've shared with the audience so far. Tell us about you and your story and how you got started.
Jessica, thank you so much for having me. You're such a warm and beautiful host, and I'm so happy to be here today. So thank you. The way it all started from me not loving what I do, and I used to work in finance in asset management. Uh, I used to be a research analyst. I would invest different bonds and debt for emerging markets. And even though it's an interesting job, you're learning a lot every day. I felt like it's not who I am, and it's not what I'm supposed to be doing here on this planet Earth. And then I started questioning who am I and why am I here and what's my purpose and what do I want to do with my life. And I've realized that I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And everyone in my family, on my dad's side, every single man used to be, an entrepreneur. But I'm the first. I'm the first woman. I'm the first girl. So I think being the first woman, a businesswoman, I think that was very challenging for me because even though like it comes from your heritage, but it comes from the male side, and it was such a risky move. It was in 2019. It was before COVID. We didn't know at the time that the COVID is going to happen. And I thought, oh my God, I've just invested so much money into my education. I moved from Russia. I'm Russian. So I moved from Russia to United States. I got my degrees in the United States. I've invested so much time, 8 years, into getting my bachelor's and starting this dream job on Wall Street, just to realize that it's not who I am and I don't want to do this. And that honestly, that crashed me. I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people feel that way when you invest so much time and energy and resource into into achieving something, and then you realize that that doesn't serve you. And then I thought, oh my God, well, I'm not going to be miserable until the end of my life, right? So I have to quit. And honestly, I didn't have enough guts to quit. So for 8 months, I was asking universe, please, please, make my manager fire me because I don't want to be here.
Manifesting.
Yes, manifesting. And you know what? After 8 months of asking, he did fire me.
Wow.
Yep, yep. And at that time, in those 8 months, I started researching and trying a lot of things on the side as I was working. And that was a lot, that was very challenging. I would work like 60 or 70 hours per week.
Mm.
And at the time, I saw this opportunity in Russia where I thought I can buy this business and I can turn it around. For some reason, I believe that I can turn this business, I can make it profitable, and I can sell it within 2 years. That was my original plan. And I think, and here's the lesson, I guess, to me and to everyone who is watching, it's a good idea. In order to win, you have to make that decision and have a belief that you can win, even if you've never done it before. It's very powerful. And so I invested in this business. I realized that yes, I have to move to Russia. So that at that time, my manager fires me, so it's a perfect timing. And I'm moving to Russia. And when I moved to Russia, this is when I realized that my business is failing, and if we're not gonna make some changes, I will have to close the business within 3 months. And at that time, I had money only for 3 months, basically, and I had three salons and I had six technicians. I fired pretty much everyone except one girl, and I hired five new people that I had to train. That in the business industry that I've never worked or dealt with before, right? And at that time, everything was super stressful. I asked myself a question. So, what is the biggest bottleneck, right? Like, where are we losing money? What do I need to change first? At that time, we would get customers, we would get clients. But the problem is we couldn't close. And we would close only at about 15% rate and only with huge discounts. And the problem was it was a premium product that would sell for about $1,000. And Russian people make about $1,000 per month. And that was a huge, huge price for them. Plus, we didn't know how to sell. And I realized that, first of all, we need to break this into payment plans so they can afford it. That's one thing. And second thing, we need to learn how to sell. And then I read this book that was written by Wolf of Wall Street. I always keep forgetting the name, but I'm sure we will mention it later. I read that book and I made everyone on my team to read that book. And then I made them to write scripts. I told them, you got to write me a script. And as they wrote, every girl would write a script, and then we would go over it. And then we would go over it. We would edit, try it. I would watch how they sell, and then watching them selling would teach me so much. Somehow, intuitively, I knew that they are making mistakes, and I don't know where it came from. I think it's just like maybe intuition plus some kind of talent that I just have. And I knew, and I would just correct them. I would watch every single sale until they got to 85% closing rate, and we did
Wow.
that within a few months. Yes, and that made us like that saved us. And
Mm.
in 3 months of me arriving to Russia, I arrived in June, and by August we broke even, and in September we were positive cash flow. Yeah,
And that's
so
from,
that's
I think you said, so just so I know, like the funnel
yes,
there is they come in for a small introductory service, and then the model is that you would upsell them to a high ticket service, right?
correct. So the funnel was it was social media ads, right, on Instagram, because Russian people don't use as much Facebook. So it's Instagram, and then we would invite them for a free procedure, for a free small treatment, like maybe their armpit, something small, and it would be completely free.
Mm.
And that was also another challenge, right? Because when a person's coming in without an intention of buying anything,
Mhm.
upsell them from a free appointment to like $1,000 package is difficult. But yeah, we nailed that. So it would be ads, free appointment, like free procedure, and then they would buy a package that we would split usually 3, 4 payments over 6 months.
Mhm.
Mhm. And then we would repeat. So they would stay with us for years.
So one of the things you also did was you sold that business
That's
eventually.
correct.
What was that like?
Oh yeah. Okay. So what made it valuable, right? So
Yeah.
here's the thing. When I start building something, so first I test, and before that, like don't think that this was my first business, but I've tried a bunch of things, right? So it takes usually a while to get to something that works. But once you find something that works and that sells, you're like, okay, so what am I gonna do with this?
Mhm.
And I always know my final goal. And my final goal always has been in that business, I'm going to sell it and I'm going to sell it in 2 years. So then the next question, how am I going to sell it? Who am I going to sell it to? What is the avatar of the person or a company that I'm going to sell it to? When they're going to buy it, what are they going to look at? Like all of those questions you need to ask yourself. How much can I approximately sell it for? What makes my business valuable? In my case, we had a few things that a lot of salons could not, like they usually would not offer. First of all, we had pretty good social media account that would consistently bring clients every single month through our ads. So we,
Mhm.
we knew that if we're going to invest this amount of money, this is how many clients we're going to get. That's number one. Number two, we had pre-sold treatments that always brings your valuation up, right? Because let's say we sold the treatment for 6 months, but they would pay it in 2 3 months. So when a new buyer gets the business, cash is coming in.
Mhm.
Maybe she hasn't sold anything yet, but cash is coming in constantly. So that's amazing.
Mhm.
Another thing, my sales training was all documented, and all your business processes need to be documented. You need to document pretty much everything you do so you can transfer this to your new owner to the or company. They need to understand that even if somebody quits, they know how to train a new person because everything is documented, and it documented in a very easy way for them to understand.
Yeah.
So my sister was completely trainable. Hmm.
Nice. So yeah, when you're looking at a new owner, that becomes even more important, right? So whether they inherit the team or they bring in their own, they have to be able to replicate whatever it is that's working. And so that it goes right down to the operations and having things documented, which is like very unsexy, right? Nobody wants to hear that. But in terms of SOPs and really figuring out what works, I like how you did it with experimentation first, but documenting as you go. So you really take an operational viewpoint. You've mentioned the word ecosystem. What does
Hmm.
that mean to you when you're helping a client, let's say on the consulting side, go from being the master technician, they don't have a lot of experience in the business side, and you want to turn them profitable like that. I mean, 85% is an unreal conversion rate. That's amazing. Well done, you. How do you help them make that shift from the technician to the CEO and really um, building that business ecosystem with them?
Yeah, that's such a good question. So, um, when I start working with someone, I always try to look objectively at this person, right? Even before I take them on board, um, I ask myself, so what kind of person is this, right? What kind of strengths do they have? Like who is she? Every single person has a lot of capacity. I truly believe in that. And we all do not understand how much we're capable of. And so when I looked at someone, I ask myself, so what are her strengths? What is her story? How we gonna use her strengths to build a strong business? And to me, first of all, she needs to be very good at what she does because I my morals, yeah, can I say
Yeah.
so? So my morals cannot, I cannot promote and I cannot help somebody if they're just not at their, if they're just not great yet,
Mhm.
because they are the product. The product needs to be good. And yes, we will always be working on our skill, but I like to work with somebody who is already giving a great product. And I just believe that the world needs to know about them. So I'm going to give you an example. So when I started working with one of my clients, I looked at her and I'm like, okay, what kind of person is she? And she is somebody who's very warm, very approachable. She has this beautiful, genuine, very genuine, caring energy. I'm like, awesome. We're gonna we're gonna build on this. We're gonna translate this energy, this care. We're gonna turn this around. We're gonna show it in social media. We're gonna show it in our ads. So we're gonna combine this. We're gonna give you results, but you're also gonna get a self care time. You deserve it because you work so much and you're so stressed. And we basically playing on her on her strengths, basically, right? And then I look at her weaknesses. And mostly for estheticians, a lot of beauty pros, it's a operation side. They don't know how to sell. They don't know how to bring clients. They don't, and they are afraid of, I would say, marketing, branding, and this is where I can help them a lot. But it's not just about that. I think, and that's what changed from my first business. I grew personally. I became a lot more spiritual. I also understand psychology very well. So in my previous business, I did not pay as much attention to psychology. This time, I pay a lot more attention to psychology. So, for example, working with one of my clients, she has she has a rejection trauma. Rejection trauma it's comes from her maternal side, and when you feel rejected by your mom, it's it's gonna impact your business and it's gonna impact your relationship. So because it comes from maternal side, it means you're gonna feel you're gonna feel some tension with female clients. And if you want to go big and if you want to become a leader and if you want to make very good money, you need to fix that. Because if you're going to have this tension between your female clients and you, it's going to be hard, right? So what I'm also doing, I'm certified in IMT. It's one of the most efficient ways in psychology to heal trauma. It's very fast. So I work with their psych. I also do a lot of coaching. So we as we grow, I coach them mentally because they need to be healed and they need to be strong. They will not be healed completely, but a lot of these tensions we reduce significantly. And this is when they make those jumps from, let's say, 20 clients a month to 100 clients to 200 clients and so forth.
Well, I love that you brought that up, and I see this in my work as well. I'm a certified coach too, and it would be easy for me to just deal with the operational side. Like I could easily go into fractional HR or something like that that is more systematic and but if I didn't bring that coaching side into the business, I'm really doing clients a disservice because it is really true. And I have learned this personally now. Uh, you want to meet yourself. You want to really like be confronted with all the issues that you thought you were over, but turns out, whoops, you were just avoiding that. Like start a
Mhm.
business. It's like the best way. And
Mhm.
and but what an opportunity, right? To have to
Mhm.
do things like for me, I'm just going to be honest. Marketing is not my thing. I was never interested in marketing whatsoever. It was like my worst class in my MBA. And well, no, that's not true. Statistics was my worst. But marketing was very close behind. I think I got a B. Whoa, like I know, very dramatic. But yeah, it was just not a thing that I wanted to do. But I figured out it's because of my visibility fears. I feel much that like before this time, all of my social media was private. I was not really putting myself out there, which is kind of why I love the podcast format because there's just like talking with friends like I would be doing anyway. And bonus, then I could, Riverside cuts up all my social media for me. It's amazing. But if I just gave myself that out of, I'm bad at marketing, then my business doesn't grow. And I don't ultimately get what I want. And I can't serve people. I can't help people. I can't be that coach if I haven't coached myself or gotten a coach myself.
Yeah.
So I really like that you are supporting that, because you are also just such a whiz at like operations, right? Operations, business, like seeing that bottleneck, you've got that laser vision, but the person comes first. That's
Yeah,
my takeaway so far.
I completely agree with you. Person
Yeah.
comes first. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's always about conquering our fears, right? And as we
Mhm.
as we build the business, it's not just about building the business, it's about building ourselves and
Mhm.
getting to the next level of us. And that's why I love business so much.
Me
It
too.
makes me proud, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of feel like now that I'm making headway on this visibility stuff for myself in a way that feels truly authentic to me. Um,
Mhm.
I was an only child for the first 11 years, and I used to have this tape recorder that I was just talk into all the time. I can't explain this other than like this I needed my brother to come along like way earlier, I think. And then I get on a podcast and it's just like, oh, this is just like tape recorder. I don't know. Is this relatable at all to anyone else?
That's
I don't
right.
know. But you like finding the thing that is a normal thing to do, right? Like podcasting is cool. Everyone has got a podcast, but because it feels more natural to me, I'm a long form girly. I'm a reader.
Mhm.
I cannot write you anything under 5 pages. And so podcasting works for how my brain works and how I just naturally gravitate to information. And also relationships are a huge part of me too. I really value my deep long-term relationships, and that's definitely another reason why I just podcasting feels just like building a relationship.
Natural.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I would guess that a lot of your work too is just figuring out based on that unique person. It sounds like you're you're building something that feels authentic to them so that they can get out of their way and they can scale. Is that correct?
That is very true. So this is such a great point. I think whatever you do, first of all, it needs to be very authentic and natural for you. And a lot of times we don't know what's natural to us because we have to try different things. So there's a saying, in order to know what suits us, right? What works for us, we need to first understand what doesn't work for us. And that's so applicable to work or business. And to your question, yes, I understand the person. I apply their strengths, right? I build it based on their strengths. Um, but it's also, oh my gosh, I lost my thought. So yes, it definitely needs to be completely authentic. Oh, here's what I wanted to say. And do you know why? It's because in this business, it's about a lot of it. It's about clients that we bring, right? And when we are playing on our natural, like when it's very natural and authentic, it brings the clients that we actually. It's like that so easy for us to work with. And because it's so easy for us to work with them, um, it's easier to sell. And it's because it's easier to sell. Like right now, the client that I've mentioned before, she basically she closes 90% of all sales, and that's even better than in my first business. And she's not somebody who is a she's not a natural salesperson. We worked at it, and she became good. So it's because the people who come, they already really like her. And then she does an amazing job in terms of facials. And then so much easier to sell. So everything, absolutely everything is interconnected. Hmm.
It absolutely is. I want to go back to the sales thing because I think a lot of people, even if they have, so most of our listeners, they've got traction, they've got clients, they know where their next sale is coming from, and shifting what has brought them to this point is tough. because you've been rewarded for one way of doing things, right? And sometimes getting to the next level means a whole new set of challenges, a whole and sales is a very common thing that people they learn one way that works, and then when that one way stops working, it's it's mentally very difficult, and then you are kind of going back into the experimentation phase, and you're saying, well, okay, I guess we're starting over. That can really be draining. But the way you talk about sales is different. Like the way you talk about sales, it's like the real foundation. Once you figured out that that was the bottleneck, it's one of the core focuses, and I'm guessing that you see that a lot in your business, right? Where people are, that tends to be a common bottleneck. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of people um, like they don't have good sales. I think the reason why so many people have problems with sales, it's because they have wrong ideas about sales. That's what I that's what I usually work with. So when I train, I have to really get through that mental blocks. And a lot of times it's a lot of mental blocks around sales. I personally never had that. Thank God. I have a lot of different things. But I think the reason why I never had that, it's because I very quickly realized that sales mean cash. It means money. It means if I'm not going to have sales, I'm not going to have anything.
Right.
I'm done, and I have to survive.
Yeah.
Remember those 3 months that I've mentioned? I very quickly realized if I don't sell, I'm over. Like this is over.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of it comes down to what do you really think about sales?
Hmm.
Are you proud of what you're selling? Are you proud of your product? Is your product good, or maybe it still needs some work? For me, once I am sure of the product, once I know this is a killer, I'm gonna sell it. But if I'm not convinced, I'm not gonna sell it. If I'm not convinced that this is a killer, like this is the amazing product, I will not have that confidence in selling it. That's why I only work with somebody who is great at what they do because I want to bring them to the world. Hmm.
Yeah, that's the same reason that I ultimately got out of specializing in talent acquisition. It's always informed a lot of what I do because I know what it takes to build that culture from scratch. But then also, I didn't want to just go when I made my first real big career move back in the day. I didn't want to go to just any organization because, in a way, recruiting requires you to sell a little bit. It requires you to speak pretty honestly about what the company is like, what the culture is like. And I applied to a lot of places. I did my best, but in the end I was just not excited about it the way I was in my first role, where we were, in a healthcare environment, and we were really trying to do it differently, and we were honestly doing really good things for patients, and that felt rewarding to me. But like you said, I have to believe in it. And once I do,
Hmm.
it's easy to talk about. I just talk about the
Hmm.
thing. And and why, and I
Exactly.
figure out why it works and why it's different, and why my perspective gives me a different lens on it. And I feel like that's why you're going with it, right? It's just like sales.
Correct.
Yeah, sales gets a bad rap because we have been sold to in ways that feel icky to us and broy and
Hmm.
just like too
Hmm.
much pressure. Listen, I will
Hmm.
buy when I want to buy. I will Google it myself. Thank you very much. but
Exactly.
uh, but yeah, but finding someone too who is truly passionate and knowledgeable about what they do, and you can tell, you can read it. We are human. We can read
Hmm.
when someone has
Hmm.
just dumped from AI versus when there's someone out there who truly is a knowledgeable expert and is excited about what they do. It makes such a difference.
Exactly. There's a few things I want to just mention for all of those who are watching. So, yes, it starts with the belief. right? Yes, I gotta believe in this product, and I just have to know that, yes, this is great. And then once you know that this is great, let's say if you have problems with sales, there are so many amazing books and so many amazing videos. I don't know, you can watch Alex Hormozy. He talks so much about sales. Go watch him on YouTube. And Jessica will mention the book that I always forget. Read that book so you understand the process of sales, because there are a few there are a few stages, right? So, like introduction, building the trust as an expert, as a product, as a company, and then understanding the client, understanding the human being, understanding the person that you're in front of you, their problems, their pains, their fears. Once you build the trust, you understand their fears and their problems, you think, can I really help that person? And you got to be honest with yourself. That's at least that's my policy. I'm always very honest with the person I'm selling to. If I know that my product is going to solve their problems and I know that I'm going to be able to help them, I'm selling. But if I think that I am not the right fit, if they might not be the right person for me, I'm not going to sell it, because there are so many amazing people out there who I'm going to sell it to. And
Mhm.
that's what I also teach. And yes, we sell at 90%. And those 10% for all of the people that do not match our criteria, we think, not that they don't match our criteria, they just we just they're not the right person for us, right? We cannot, we don't want to sell them. Or sometimes, yes, it's hard to sell because person might not be ready yet, and they might be they're just not might not be there. That's okay, that's totally fine. So being honest, I think, super important. Being honest with yourself, knowing that you're doing the right thing. And then once you realize their fears, their problems, you are building that rapport and you sell. You're like, okay, this is what it is. You're selling it, and there usually comes objections. But if you sell well, you will not have many objections. Ideally, you don't have any objections at all. But if there are objections, it means usually it's because there's a lack of trust. It's because you might not understand the person very well. Then there will be objections. But you are ready for all of those objections. You know the answer to every single objections, because there are usually only few objections. It's like money, time. I cannot make a decision because my husband needs to decide for me. Um, what else? So, I mean, this, I don't know, just maybe think of others, but this is like the main ones, Like, I'm not sure yet. I need to see my schedule.
Mhm.
It's because there's something else underneath why they cannot make a decision.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I love about what you said about fear, I think many of us have grown tired of traditional marketing sales
Mhm.
tactics and the things that don't feel aligned for us. They know the fear and then they exploit the fear. That's not what you're saying. You're saying, how
No,
can I help with this fear? That's
exactly.
such an important distinction.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you for clarifying this. Absolutely, you need to understand what are they afraid of, and if you can help them overcome it. I am so against manipulations. Even before soft sales became so huge, right?
Yeah.
I was always against it because I'm not a manipulative person. Manipulation is such a short game. And real money, I made only in the long run. It's a long term game, especially
Mhm.
beauty business. We build business on recurring revenue. After we sell one package, we sell third, fourth, fifth. People stay with us for years, and that's how we stay strong. So, for that reason, I'm always teaching people you always have to choose and prioritize your customer over you. And just that's something I believe in. They need to win first before you win. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's how you win, long term.
Well, and the long game is something that I talk about all the time too. I think in the US business culture right now, there is a ton of managing to next quarter. And sometimes you don't have control over that.
Mhm.
If you're funded, right, the investors are going to want to know next quarter, what are we going to do next quarter and next quarter after that? And perhaps some of them have a long ranging strategy, but the incentives often focus on short term. That's just how it goes. And every quarter, you're kind of fighting for your life and proving your
Mhm.
worth. Whereas
Mhm.
some moves that are better in the long term don't always get recognized that next quarter. They may even look like a loss if it's an investment in your business. But if it pays off long term, a good partner
Mhm.
will recognize, okay, this is the reasoning behind these numbers. And I think what's important too about your approach is that, and I'm thinking about teams too, because you can
Mhm.
look at your team the same way too. If you should always know your data. You should always have clear
Yeah.
targets. You should always know what outcomes your team is responsible for, and a general idea. Although I do advocate being flexible with the process so that you can allow it to evolve, but you should know what works, and you should train your team on what works, and then step back and let them run and let them bring you, hey, this process isn't working, and how do we evolve it? But the long game approach to building a team is different than the short game. Most of my clients, they come in when they are about to upgrade their teams. They have, the task people, they have the VA, they have the intern that they want to mentor, which is beautiful, and they have, usually like someone they know and already trust, a friend, a niece, whatever. And they quickly outgrow that once they get serious about growth, and they're, maybe, let's say they're six figures, multi six, and they're wanting to scale to and past a million. They quickly find out, kind of the hard way, that they are paying a lot of money to then just be redoing work, to be the only one still producing outcomes, to still be chained to their laptop when they want to take a vacation. So that's the short game, right? It's the, hey, I'm not good at this task, let me give it away. Or I don't like this task, let me give it away. And there is definitely something to calculating the value of your time and really understanding where you need to be spending your time. But the thing is, then you got to replace it with something. You got to get people who have the skills that you can actually delegate to. um, and so let me hear more from you. You mentioned psychology. I think it's really important, especially in leadership, because our instinct, and I think most of us have been led or raised by micromanagers at some point and beyond the training stage. And of course, you mentioned when you were doing experimentation that you would watch them very closely. It wasn't to micromanage them, it was to learn together and really understand the nuance of what worked. And once they were good with that, they ran with it, and it was good. There's always a portion of time that you do need to be very closely involved, and if you skip it, it usually doesn't work out well. But leadership, like that leadership upgrade and the psychology of the leadership upgrade, once you move beyond people that you know how to manage, and you know every inch of their work, and then you start really giving something away and letting go of it, it is a mind-blowing experience. So talk to me about that, like the leadership psychology, the identity of becoming that CEO and really stepping into that. What does that transition look like, either for you or for your clients?
Yeah, and that another great question, Jessica.
The long
So,
one.
yes, delegation, right? I think in my case, delegation always came easy to me. Why? I think it's because I have, well, first of all, I think I have right beliefs. I believe that there are so many people out there who can do their job, their specific job, so much better than me. And that's my goal. My goal is to train them and get them to the level or hire them that they already have amazing experience and they're just so much better than me. I'm just like an organizer. Yes, I am the leader of this, but I am surrounded by amazing people who are just better at what they do than me. So there are two things to this process. One thing is that one thing is that, for example, when you're hiring someone, you can hire somebody who lacks experience but has potential, and somebody who has a lot of experience already and has a lot of skill. So I think, how do you choose who to hire, right? Um, I think first you need to ask yourself, okay, so the thing that I'm going to hire this person for, how well do I understand it? Can I train them? Is it cheaper maybe for me right now to train someone and let them and help them to evolve and get better with time? Or am I lacking the skill myself? I'll give you an example. So, for example, right now we hired a lead team. And the lead team, it's the girls who are converting from advertising, requests to appointments. And I knew that, yes, I'm going to hire somebody with a little bit of experience because I can afford it right now. But I'm also going to get them to the next level because I believe we can figure it out. And I'm not necessarily already had a lot of skill in that, but I believe that we can figure it out together. So it's been about 4 months. So it's how many? It's August, September, October, November. Yeah, 4 months, and they are converting at about 2.5 times better than the market at the moment. Yes, they are, and they started strong, but they are improving every month. And it was a matter of a right personality. They already had experience, but not in the beauty business. They had in like customer service and real estate. I'm like, okay, we can take some of it from there. And then constant experimentation. I'm a kind of person, I experiment every single month. I never stop because we don't know what works better. We thrive on making hypotheses and testing things and and integrating, right, what works better. I never stop until I get to a very good point, like sales. I want to get conversion from ads to appointment at 40%. Is it possible? I think it's possible, but it's not just the lead team. We need to make social media content more like, I think they need to be, because they're very, very tied. We need to work on our social media. It's like, because everything, all the processes are very connected. So there's I know how we can grow. So that's one side. Another side is when you're trying to grow your business and you realize, I'm lacking the skills. I don't know this. And I need somebody who has the skill and who can help me to grow in this matter. So, for example, if I was developing, let's say, AI consulting, right? AI coach. I don't have a technical background. So I would hire somebody who already has a lot of great experience in that matter and very technical. But at the same time, I would still have to become technical because I need to understand what they're doing and I need to be able to lead. You will still have to grow. So yeah, it all depends on your agenda and where you're at. Mhm.
Yeah, well, one of my former bosses used to say, "You need to know it enough to be dangerous," right? Meaning
Yeah.
not actually dangerous, but you need to have a working knowledge, background knowledge
Mhm.
of it, and you have to be resourceful enough to do that research and understand what good looks like, I think is a good way
Mhm.
to say it. One of the early things you said that stuck out to me, and I truly believe this, is that sometimes it comes down to the core belief that you have when you go into the hiring process? Do you
Mhm.
believe that people are doing their best, that they want things to go well, they want to do a good job? Or do you believe that no one wants to work and, people are never going to be able to do it like you do? How is yeah, how is that serving you, right? If that's your belief. People do really well under high expectations. I know this
Mhm.
for myself. I know this for teams that I've led. People do well under high expectations. It doesn't necessarily mean that you hire them and you're out, right? It doesn't mean you completely check out of the process. It does mean that if you have a high belief and a high expectation for what they are able to achieve and what they can learn and how well they can do, people want to rise to that, as opposed to the low expectation side where only I'm the one who can produce this and only I'm the one who can do it right and my way is the best way, which many of us fall into that trap. I'll be honest. You started our conversation talking about how to be a business owner, to be a successful entrepreneur who is growing her business, you need to kind of delusionally believe in yourself. And
Exactly.
our challenge is, how do we not transfer that onto our team, right? So that's one thing I wanted to call out. And then the next question I want to ask you is about potential.
Mhm.
What are some signals that someone has potential for the next phase of whatever it is, growth, that role, whatever your plans are? How do you know if someone has potential? What are some signs?
Yeah,
The hard
I
one.
honestly do not know, but because this is not an easy question, right? I don't think we can know for sure, but this is what I look at. I think that every single one of us has a potential. Every single one of us has a huge capacity that we don't know of. Is this is the right person for the job? I think I usually look at, like, what are their dreams? What are their goals? What are their strengths? What do they want in life? And in order for this to play out well, I think a person needs to be internally on board, not just like physically on board, I'm here to work, but they need to, their goals in life, in career, need to be in line with your goals. So for example, I am somebody who would be terrible to hire unless I have an equity stake, and I'm building something with you and it's ours, right? But if, let's say, if I have an equity stake and I believe in this thing, I'm going to work my ass off and I'm going to grow in the process. So that's another thing, right? They need to they need to be a person who is coachable but also willing to grow. Are they
Mm.
willing to grow? Do they like it? Do they enjoy it? Do they have do they have like kind of right personality for this, if let's say, for example, if the job is very routine based, are they somebody who is okay with doing routine tasks for a long time, or they're not? So what I also look at, I look at their patterns. So for example, right now we're hiring an esthetician, right, for the salon, and I look at their patterns. There's this person who has a lot of experience, but it's actually a guy, but he changes jobs every single year. So he works 1 year here, 1.5 year here, another year here, and now he's like works like at his fourth salon. And I don't like that, because people have patterns, right? I don't want him to work in our salon for a year and then quit. I want him to work for at least 4 or 5 years, because we're going to invest so much into his skill. We're going to invest a lot in his training, and then we're going to pay well, right? And what we also do, we structure the pay in a way that they grow every single year and how much they make, so they would stay longer. But yeah, but that's another question. Mhm.
Yeah. That's interesting. And I think I think you're spot on. Motivation has so much to do with whether your goals are aligned, right? Whether
Mhm.
the founder's goals are aligned with whoever it is that you're bringing on. And I would add, you also have to think about what is your bandwidth to close the gap from wherever it is that they truly honestly are to where you want them to go. How much of you will that take? How big is the gap? There are always ways to gauge that. There are actually pretty concrete questions and ways to ask that. You said something else that I wanted to call out. Look at their patterns. You can also look at their patterns of thought. And that sounds really like fluffy and accessible, whatever. But it's true. If you detach yourself from wanting the right answer, which in a technical capacity, sometimes there's a right answer. But when we're talking about strategic thinking, leadership, posing a general question, how would you handle this or that? Or, um, here's something that we see in our business. How would you approach that? You don't necessarily need them to give you the exact right answer of how it's supposed to be done, but you do need to watch what other questions do they have about this scenario that I just posed to them. Are they considering the upstream, downstream impacts of whatever action they're going to take? Do they know, for example, and this is a good technical question, like let's say they have to make a decision within your system and there are specific rules that they should know, being a technical expert. Do they think about that? Do they tell you that they're thinking about that? So you watch their thought process. How linear is it? How many directions do they take it? Do they talk about who else should be included in the process? It's not an exact science, but it kind of also is, right? So you can.
That's such a great point. How would you understand that, let's say, how would you identify those patterns of thinking? Are
Mhm.
there maybe tests, maybe something you could do, give it to them?
There are tests. I have mixed feelings about using assessments in the interview process until you're at the very, very end. However, sometimes they can be helpful. One of the ones that I feel pretty comfortable with is the predictive index. I'm certified in that one. They have a hiring assessment that basically on the founder employer side, you would check off what the actual reality of, not like the aspirational whatever, like the honest reality. How repetitive are the tasks? Like what's important work that would be done in this position? And so you're real honest about it and you send it to multiple stakeholders, people who are actually doing the job, and then that produces a behavioral target. And so the predictive index is one that I like because it's not really a personality thing, it's a work styles assessment. And you would, once you identify the target, you'll get suggestions of multiple different types of profiles who could fit that. And then you layer in, it's not a decision maker on its own, but it gives you the likelihood that someone will enjoy and be naturally well suited to the tasks that are just realistically they will have to do. It's also an interesting tool for putting data behind this idea of potential. Do they also have abilities that would make them a good leader? Do they enjoy working with people, or are they total solo people and they're not going to like working as part of a team, right? So it gives you these little signals.
Yes.
But what I always say as well is you can't use just that and go off of just an assessment. You also have to have them tell you their stories. You have to validate the data points. Then you have to do a behavioral interview and you have to understand their motivations, because where they are and what they've practiced might be different from what they want to grow into. That's one way. The other way is getting someone to show you how to interpret answers. This is one thing that I include in all my programs that is different than what's in the market. The market will tell you, here's what questions to ask, but because it is so variable. Not everyone is telling you how to interpret the answers. So that's a really key part. Someone who's been in the talent space for a long time can deconstruct that. So I've kind of deconstructed my brain and I have models for all of this stuff.
This is very cool. Thank you for sharing. I really
Yeah,
like it.
my pleasure.
I think as I get more experience and as I build the businesses, I come to this idea how important to have this unified team that is inspired by one purpose, by one vision, and they are just very good team players. And I didn't pay as much attention to it before, and like we would still do fine without it. But I think to build something big and go through a lot of ups and downs, you need to have a very unified team. And you're right, you've mentioned something. Some people are just better team players, and some people, they're just great at what they do, but they're not very good team players. And that makes it down the line harder to work with them, even if they are amazing at what they do. So you need to also be mindful of that. It's like, I don't know, you've what I know. I just recently watched Physical Asia. It's a show on Netflix.
I don't know that one.
It's like when they presented with this different challenges, physical challenges that they have to overcome, and each country and each team represents their country. And as I was watching the show, some of the things that I thought, I could apply this to business. And you can think about it like you have a goal, you want to win this game, and you have a team. And if, let's say, you have a weak team and each candidate is weak and you are not very balanced, so you like you have maybe you're all good at, I don't know, at one thing, but then you just don't have enough diversity, right? Like you don't have enough diverse skills, and then you're gonna lose because your team is not as balanced and each member is not as strong. So I think, but I've also realized watching this game, I thought, you know what, there are teams who are where the team members might not be as physically strong, but they're a better team, and because they're a better team, if they have a good strategy, they're more unified, and they still overcome a stronger team that is not unified. And that's also very interesting. I think it's also can be applied to business. So that unity, that's you bounded by this goal, you believe in this mission, and you do your best. But I think at some point, sooner or later, if you are achieving something big, you will still have to bring people, I guess. And I don't know. I guess that's the case. You will have to bring people that have that level of skill that you don't have yet, that you can learn from them, and that's beautiful too, because you're growing.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think that's one thing that, you can put any sort of narrative or program behind this, but it is factually true that diversity makes the teams stronger. It's indisputable, and there have been so many studies about it. It's I have actually refused to purchase to my own peril probably, but I won't sell predictive index, for example, to a company that says, well, we only want this one type of person on our team. That is not what we are doing here. We need more of a balance to make sure that we're not missing things. We don't miss data. We don't miss opportunities that other people can see who have a different thought process. Even just diversity of thought is so important because you get in a bubble and it becomes this echo chamber and all you hear is your own voice coming back to you. And sure, is that great for your ego? Yeah, but it's not the best thing for business. You're always going to need to, like you said, experiment, reinvent. If you just think that you can do the same thing in business forever, we live in a world where just I could go on and on and on about macro trends, but I won't. That's a different episode. But but we live in a world now that changes way faster than human behavior. And in order to make sure that we are building strong and steady businesses, we need people who are different from us. We need people who can look at something differently from us and innovate around it. Otherwise, we're going to get lost the next time that shift comes. And if we stop innovating at a time when things are good, then
Mhm.
we're gonna lose it in the next downturn, and then we have to work twice as hard to climb back up. Whereas if we build diverse teams and we are intentional, the other thing that was really critical that you said was around purpose. The unity comes from purpose. The unity comes from working together towards something you all believe in. And I don't even care if that sounds fluffy because it is freaking true. I have a consulting
Yes.
practice where I help establish businesses fix when culture is not going so well. Some of these businesses are extremely mature businesses. Some of them are sort of reinventing, they're sort of restarting up their startups like 10 years plus, and now there's some sort of shift, whether that's a market shift, whether that's an internal shift. Most of the time, though, it's because they don't know that they have to design culture when they are small, and they have to design it to grow. So, what's it now? What kind of business do I want to actually work on? If I'm the founder and I don't want to work for my own business, I wouldn't like I would say no if my own business offered me a lower level job. Like that's a signal that you will need me. And my whole founder business is basically like I want to write myself out of a job in 5 years. Like, I don't want to see you in my consulting programs. Let's build this from day one. Culture gets this fluffy wrap, but culture is nothing more than a behavior, like an agreement of the actions and the choices that we make as a team to reach a goal that we all believe in. And it's a simple narrative. People don't want to hear that it is such a simple narrative. They think we have to slap events on it and be super formal and buy a pool table. It's not that. It is how clear are you on those things? How do we make decisions? What choices are going to get us ahead and what choices are going to hold us back? And what are we working towards together? How can we unify around the work and believe in what we're doing? And if you can't define that, then it's time. It's time to define that and define it before you grow, because it will be it will make everything easier for you forever. That is my little soapbox.
No, I absolutely totally agree. Yes, you are so right.
Well, it has been such a pleasure, Mariana. One more question. How can people get in touch with you and get into your world?
Uh, so I do the consulting for estheticians, right? So if you are an esthetician and you are ready for your next stage, you want to build the business, you might be experiencing maybe some problems with finding clients, or maybe you don't know how to sell yet high ticket packages. I'll be very happy to give you a free consultation and see if I can help you with anything. That's I'll be happy to do that. That's totally free. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And how you can find it, how you can find them. I think we're just gonna include our Instagram, right?
Mhm.
It's Peach Book. Yeah, Peach Book.
Well, it was such a pleasure as always to catch up with you. Thank you for coming on the podcast. And friends, we're going to include Mariana's links in the show notes and hope to see you next time.
Thank you for everything. Thank you for having me.